Item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, and I'd like to invite forward Mark. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board.
Mark, about proposed litigation. Truth was talking about the fact that her speech was being interrupted a lot by ELO. But also at this meeting yesterday, Kevin Stevenson went on for quite a while on a tirade saying a lot of nonsense about how Audra was a xenophobe, things that just simply aren't true. And I do commend you that eventually, Nora, you did stop him because he wasn't talking about something within your scope of authority. However, then he just continued, and you didn't even interrupt him, and he continued on his little tirade. So a lot of the videos
Mark, this is not non-agenda, it's closed session.
Yes, about litigation, right? Isn't closed session usually about litigation?
It's specific, counsel saying it's specific to the matters on the agenda.
Right. Well, there's also proposed litigation, because Truth was talking about how her rights to speak were being violated.
We're going to turn it over to county counsel.
Thank you.
I'll pause your time.
Thank you. Through the chair, we do not have proposed anticipated litigation listed on the closed session agenda. We have enumerated identified cases.
Thank you. I'll continue your time.
So there is a series of videos I always hold up. If I had had a few more moments, I would have gotten them ready. But the quickest and easiest one for anyone to see is on YouTube. It's called Goodbye American Sovereignty, Hello USMCA. And you can start it at 3 minutes and finish at 6 minutes. That's only 3 minutes long. And the next time someone wants to critique people or get an idea of what I'm talking about as quickly as possible, I suggest that they look at that. And if you want to critique us, Kevin Stevenson, try looking at that and critiquing
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go now to the public speakers that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd like to remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we will begin with our first caller.
Paula Bold. Looks like the county likes to make up legal requirements and hand children over to people who do what they want to the kids, keeping parents in the dark. Much like the board treats us, but some people are taking it to the courts and not the streets. Pope versus San Diego County. The county assumed protective custody of the Pope's 3 children following a complaint about Mrs. Pope's treatment of her son. It sent the children to the Polinsky Center, who violated the parents' rights by giving non-emergency treatment without their consent. Gross. Hilltop Group versus San Diego County. The Hilltop Group wanted to develop a recycling center, and basically the county objected, and they made up all sorts of false rules about the environmental review process. So, you know, the county needs to be more careful about those things, and I mean, I guess I'd better not say more because it might be non-agenda. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Hey, Consuelo, thank you for letting me speak. I mean, gosh, that's the first time I'm saying this, but okay. I will take this and run. Okay, Nora, let's see. You're so fearful, right? But be honest, it's not because of the concerned tax-paying citizens coming in to these meetings. You're afraid of being exposed.
Consuelo, the chairwoman would like you to focus on the closed session items for your comments, please.
Can you hear me? Am I muted?
Nope, you're not muted. We just need you to focus on, this is items for closed session, so you need to focus your comments towards the closed session items. Non-agenda public communication will come later in today's agenda.
Okay, so let's see, closed session. So many things, so many things. Do I got 1 minute or 2 minutes? 1 minute or 2 minutes?
It's 2 minutes.
Hello?
It's 2 minutes.
Yay, okay, great. Let's see. It looks like the county likes to make up legal requirements and hand children over. I'm going to repeat what my husband said. People to do what they want to kids, keeping parents in the dark, much like they treat us. But some people are taking it to the courts and not to the streets. Some people are taking it to the courts and not to the streets. Some people will be taking it to the courts and not to the streets. Got it? I hope you got it. Let's see. That's all I got. See you at non-agenda.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Oh my gosh, can't believe we get 2 minutes. That's crazy. I mean, new day, new time. Yeah, it's interesting the way that you guys deal with children and the fact that you are engaged in taking children away from their parents. And that you think that you're qualified to do that and that that's actually a good idea when you condone a 5-year-old little girl being raped. You actually laughed at it yesterday when Kevin was calling me a xenophobe and acting like I was using a 5-year-old being raped as leverage. You sat there and you guys laughed about it. And so the fact.
So Audra, once again, this is not non-agenda public communication. This is items on closed session. You need to focus your comments on closed session, please.
Ryan, for real, I'm talking about the litigation about you guys taking people's children. It's ridiculous that you want to silence people because you know what you guys are doing is wrong. You shouldn't be engaged in that. It is very nefarious because that's the kind of stuff that happens is that these children get taken and they get raped. And so if you don't think that that's a problem, that a 5-year-old in our county has been raped by an illegal, then you shouldn't be taking people's children from them and doing what you want with them. You can't be trusted in that manner when you guys don't even consider having a 5-year-old being raped not a joke. To be laughing at that and then to try and silence me again because you are being called out on it is very disturbing. You guys need to stop doing that and messing with people's children, laughing about children being raped, and doing this totalitarian takeover that you guys do on a regular basis, especially silencing the people. It's ridiculous. You guys sit up there on your dais and go off on diatribes all the time. Like these great people.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
I like the streets and the courts. This is Truth. Case A is Ruth Pope and Christopher Pope versus the county. Clea Johnson, Robin Charlton, Mary Robalota, Deanna Schreckenghost, and 10 Doe HHSA workers. In 2019, someone called La Mesa PD claiming that Ruth had locked her son in the garage for several hours as a punishment. County workers came to the door, did physical and psychological tests on all her children, then took them all. The court found that none of the children were abused or neglected. While in the county's custody, the children were given vaccinations without parental consent, hence this lawsuit. Case C is Hilltop Group, Inc. versus the county. Hilltop was looking to develop their recycling center on Mesa Rock Road. In 2008, they proposed a nursery at the same location, but they moved to where the money's at. There was opposition from the area, homeowners associations, and the city of Escondido over potential environmental impacts. In 2019, county PD staff tried to pull a CEQA fast one. Then the supervisors took a second look, and now Hilltop's suing to try to push it through with a CEQA exemption. And the court sided with Hilltop, saying it constituted a prejudicial abuse of discretion. So the county lost, and here comes expanded garbage recycling. KC is Ari Eric DeJong, ADJ Holdings LLC and Hilltop versus the county. This one's from Ari, the son of the owner of the recycling center. He's suing for tort damages. One of the problems with Hilltop is they allegedly have ties from 2017 to a portable toilet company, Diamond Environmental Services, that unlawfully discharged thousands of gallons of waste into municipal sewer systems across Southern California. For that, there was a felony conspiracy charge, 5 months in prison, 3 years probation, and $2 million in restitution payments. The DeJong family once donated $1,600 to Jim's political campaign, as well as to many other people in politics. Can Hilltop recycle this dirty political business? Or maybe the county's call-in system where we couldn't even hear the meeting and know what item we were speaking on? Consider that. Thanks.
Thank you, and your time is up. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item. The board will now recess into closed session to continue consideration of those matters listed under item 20 on yesterday's agenda. If there are any reportable actions, they will be reported out after the conclusion of closed session today.
handled.
Thank you, and we are back. And on behalf of Chairman Vargas, I will now hand the floor to County Council for a closed session report. County Council.
The Board of Supervisors met in closed session this morning from 9:23 a.m. to 9:50 a.m. The board took no reportable actions.
Thank you. We will now proceed with non-agenda public communications. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on subject matters within the board's jurisdiction, but not on an item on today's agenda. The only action that the board may take is referral to the Chief Administrative Officer. In reminder, according to Rule 4A, members of the public that are non-English speaking and need interpretation assistance will get twice the allotted time for their comments, which is 4 minutes. And as a reminder, according to the board's rules and procedures, audience members shall not whistle, clap, stomp feet, or anything that disrupts the proceedings. To better facilitate the meeting, we'll have 5 speakers in person, 5 speakers via phone, and the rest of non-agenda public communication will be heard at the conclusion of today's meeting. I will now call the public speakers forward. We have 17 total requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 5 individuals in person, and 12 requesting to speak by phone. For those that have requested to speak via phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, if you could please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. You'll then have 2 minutes to address the board, and I would like to invite forward the following individuals: Mark, Robert Gurman, William, Cesar Javier, and Gambler. And you may come forward in any order.
Mark, all these video titles are on YouTube, or one of these 3, or they're titles of articles. Rosa Corey, you can view that from 3 minutes and 30 seconds. She was a California expert court witness, incredible credentials, noticed Agenda 21 in our government, and has proof and documentation for everything she talks about. Zeitgeist Addendum, see it from 6 minutes and 40 seconds to 24 minutes. It'll explain our completely corrupt monetary system to you, and that's causing inflation, which is destroying our country right now. Corporation Nation, they've invested us, our grandparents and our parents' tax dollars. They've invested in corporations. That this council, every Tuesday morning, is the supervisors are partnering with little organizations around here. This is Agenda 21, and a lot of it. And anyway, this will explain that it makes lots of money. They have it in a separate fund, and they're never going to share any of it with you, even when we go bankrupt and they declare us to be the North American Union, where you're not free anymore. And that's real, and it's coming if people don't get together and peacefully stop it. Goodbye American sovereignty. Hello USMCA. Trump signed it. Biden did not rescind it. Oh, and by the way, Rosa Corey's video, she's a Democrat. If you thought that I'm like right wing, I'm not. I'm not for either side. Trump signed it, Biden did not rescind it, and neither side told you that it gives control over trade and immigration to a foreign unelected council. We only have 1 American member on, and he's not elected by any of us. And furthermore, they don't even have the constitutional authority to sign those powers away. So it's just as corrupt as it could be. Klaus Schwab, in this video, he states that he took over half the cabinet of Canada, and also he's infiltrated governments such as our own with Nathan Fletcher, who is here.
Robert Gurman in the slideshow. Pictures were taken from Santa Clara Toxic Lead Airport Study press release presented by Supervisor Cindy Chavez. Picture A was used by the San Diego Building Industry Association with their opposition letter of Cindy Chavez. Picture B was from Supervisor Chavez's page, Facebook page. Why would the BA use a picture of Chavez presenting a toxic lead aviation study? Why would they? It was subtle, and only those in aviation picked up on it. But the BIA opposition to Chavez was not about unions. It was about effing with their planes. What happened between the middle of 2023, when Chavez had the CAO job in San Diego, and the middle of 2024, when she was not even interviewed for the job? In October 2023, an endangerment finding on leaded avgas by the EPA was handed down. This endangerment finding has started elected officials and the public proposing new California aviation laws. First proposed ban on leaded aviation gas, SB 1193. Slide 2, developing a state agency for planes mirroring the California Department of Motor Vehicles, SB 1505. Slide 3 shows what's next. Jet fuel subsidies tied to jet pollution will be scrutinized. BIA members hate more costs for their planes and government regulations. Supervisor Chavez started all of this with her aggressive actions, and now the aviation industry is retaliating against her, which the industry is known for. The supervisors should not be a part of this retaliation. Please find a position for her in San Diego County government. There is a job opening at county airports. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bill Stanhope, and I'm here today because I think I've found a home for the tiny homes. At the May 15th meeting, there were protesters carrying signs, "No tiny homes, no tiny homes." And for many valid reasons, those residents expressed, "Not in my backyard, NIMBY." I applaud the county's efforts to provide 100 tiny homes to the homeless. The unresolved question is where? Next slide, please. According to the census, there are 10,246 unhoused in San Diego County. Thousands living on the streets in squalor, without shelter, without restrooms, is a health and safety risk to all of us. Next slide. Thank you for providing a partial solution. The county can find a location other than land adjacent to homes in Spring Valley. Starting at $19,000, tiny homes provide an excellent, inexpensive way to get people off the street. The city owns 50 acres south of Morley Field between Florida and Pershing. There's space for over 1,000 tiny homes, safe camping, showers and bathrooms, and all needed services. The county can work with the city and Sandag for implementation. As I said again, there's enough space for eventually housing thousands. The location should not have NIMBY opposition. The property is bound by a golf course and a 20-foot fence to the south, Morley Field to the north, and Florida Canyon to the west. Next slide. The proposed 100 tiny homes should be reserved for San Diego County's most deserving. Families with children, the seriously ill, those without recent criminal records, those who agree to abide by the law, and those who have been screened and certified not to pose a public threat. Although providing housing to every homeless person may not happen right away, providing 100 tiny homes to San Diego's most deserving is a great start. If there's a committee to implement this plan, I'm willing to volunteer. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Good morning. I'm Cesar Javier, community volunteer, District 9, County District 4. Code Rule 11, Paragraph 8, exempting ceramic kiln gas or electric fuel from permit, meaning you can just construct there, locate it there, doing poison gassing to the community, now mostly Asian Americans. It's vague, inefficient, ineffective. It impacted and has been impacting potentially our health, safety, and public welfare. The owner just renewed the business permit for $38 annually to poison, harm the air we breathe, seniors, children, humans, and the thing. We challenge, petition, not competition, the board to please look at, validate, and possibly gear towards policy change. Judge Christopher Morrison of District 65 declared it is the right thing to do. We pray it shall not start another Barrio Logan. We have 40 members of the San Diego Pottery Guild countywide who most likely are opposed to our recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gambler here. I'm going to do something out of character. I'm going to actually defend Nora Vargas right now. She's getting a lot of shit because someone corrupt decided to blackmail her to get her to choose Cindy Chavez. I don't like that. I know that Tara and Monica were working to go ahead and get that done. Nora had a change of heart. I appreciate that. And that is the way I feel on this whole situation. I don't care what you say in a private conversation between you and whoever. What I do care about is honesty and all that stuff. I do appreciate the fact that you chose to go with Ebony. That you went, and regardless of whatever comments that you had because you were pissed off at her at the time, I don't really care. I know that there's going to be a hit piece coming out on a bunch of us working in here from KPBS, telling us that we cannot talk to you in the fashions that we are. I tried having a conversation with each and every single one of you privately. You forced me to come in here and talk to you this way. When you shorten my time, I don't have time to weed out the curse words. When I have so much to say and not enough time to say it, you get autopilot. And you really, really don't want autopilot when it comes down to that, because I'm thinking much faster than I'm talking. I have to hold myself back. And Tara, I hated your fucking crocodile tears when you probably encouraged them to push out that friggin' email. You are the worst of the worst. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. Again, we will be hearing from the first 5 callers. The remaining callers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I would remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll begin with our first caller.
Paula Bold, stop the leaded fuel. It's sort of the same thing as giving kids to Flint Ski Center, child abuse. The battery storage BESS fire in Otay Mesa burned for about a week. Firemen are still monitoring it actually instead of being elsewhere. There are proposals for BESS facilities in San Marcos and Poway within a few hundred yards of houses, schools, and even a hospital. Lithium-ion batteries put out toxic fumes like phosphorus pentafluoride. They're a huge wildfire hazard and would draw away from fire department resources to monitor the fire for weeks. BOS should designate safe areas for these places away from houses, schools, and hospitals. Global warming. According to the World Meteorological Organization, the highest registered air temperature on Earth was 134 98.1 degrees Fahrenheit in Furnace Creek Ranch, California, in Death Valley in July 1913, over a century ago. Temperatures during the age of dinosaurs were about 2 to 8 degrees Celsius warmer. So as I said, there are a lot of factors in global warming, and man, well, one factor is simply not as significant as many would think. So, I mean, let's get real, not hysterical about this carbon monoxide, which is kind of a fairly minor thing. But there's one major thing.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
It's truth. First, I want to thank the county camera crew for showing Ebony during her promotion. That made a total of 3 women crying tears of happiness yesterday. I'd cry for Sarah leaving, but my tear ducts don't work. On May 31st, Sarah posted on X, quote, "Find a new family member on hashtag CA Adopt a Pet Day," end quote. What hypocrisy. Michael Brando had the idea that Sarah's communist comrades Lily Tomlin and Hanoi Jane Fonda could have brought attention or raised money for the dying horses, but nope, Sarah's the worst of the worst. And what about people who donated $1,000 to PETA's Legacy of Kindness Challenge and who are Augustus Club members with PETA? What does Davia think? Her quote, "A part of the extraordinary work to help animals every day," end quote. I guess that's hard to live up to while working for the county. Yesterday, Jen, you even gave an adjournment honoring someone who cares for horses. Do you not see the sick irony while horses are still dying? Alleged horse abuser Craig Lee Netwig is the owner of Kingley Technologies, an unpure water partner with 22 worldwide locations, headquartered here in San Diego. How is this relevant?
El Capitan Dam east of Lakeside has a safety rating of 4. Hodges Dam has the lowest rating of any dam in the county. Water continues to be released from Lake Hodges at the rate of about 33 million gallons per day. Customers have to pay more for imported water.
See, if they don't fix the dams, they save money and then have an excuse to introduce toilet to tap on pure water sanitized with chemicals from companies like Kingley. The city of San Diego plans to spend over $4 billion on unpure water. It's the largest infrastructure project in the city's history. And the county's spending at least $950 million on it, too. Other official unpure water supporters: Asian Business Association, Biocom, Coastal Environmental Rights Foundation, the County Water Authority, and San Diego Coastkeeper, all of which the county's given money to. They're protecting corruption, not force. Where?
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Kevin Stevenson. First, I would like to apologize if my remarks yesterday led to a lot of emotion. I am sorry for straying out of the purview of what the board is able to do. I understand that my comments might have been a little satirical and may have pushed some buttons, but that was more just to drive home that a lot of public comment at some of these meetings over the past 3 years has been, to put it politely, hysterical. But I'll admit I probably went a little too out of bounds in terms of public comment, so I apologize for that. I also apologize for making the board jobs miserable when the group of wildebeest in those chambers went all crazy. But I actually want to follow up with one of my comments yesterday. So I mentioned, funny enough, that Jim Desmond would go on Fox News or Newsmax after the vote on item 14. Well, I was wrong about the item 14 part, but sure enough, he did go on Fox News yesterday, 15 hours ago, his Twitter feed. It doesn't matter what executive actions take in California's sanctuary state, which prohibits blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read the entire tweet, but yeah, sure enough, he goes on Fox News to fearmonger about immigrants. And I just like to say, I do not approve of what Biden is trying to do with ending asylum. Asylum is a guaranteed right to people. They get their day in court. They see if their case is valid or not. And San Diego County should do their part to make sure that immigrants have, adequate protections, adequate housing. We should not be.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
Okay, so it's just, whatever. I'm not going to even reply to that. So that's fine. It's fine. Wildebeest, schmildebeest. Anyways, what was I going to say? Gosh, I'm losing my seconds now, Pablo. So what I wanted to say was amen, ditto to truth, and wow, gambler. Yeah, that's cool, but just let's keep in mind who, in fact, all these people work for. It is... Don't get it twisted. Don't let them fool you. Regarding the morally sealed idea, that's great, but that will never happen, brother. Too close to those $1 million homes. To the people not wanting the homeless encampments near the schools and the family neighborhoods, don't give up. Keep at it. These local leaders have proven time and time again that they don't work for the people. And but I'll fill you in on a little secret. There's more of us than them. And that's what they fear. They fear us uniting and coming together and actually agreeing. They get a kick out of people like the previous caller, who only has negative things to say about people in the chambers, concerned tax-paying citizens. But anyways, also wanted to address Nora. It's so evident that you're so fearful, but be honest. It's not because of the concerned tax-paying citizens coming into these meetings. You're afraid of being more exposed for what you have done, your conflicts of interest, your corrupt ways. The proof is that you're playing the part of the victim with not one, but 2 bodyguards we taxpayers are funding. And not only that, you're also in a new gas-guzzling SUV. How does that stay?
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Megan Stewart, and I would like to bring to your attention a concerning event that threatened the public health of San Diego citizens. On Sunday morning, firefighters responded to a call on Orchard Avenue in Ocean Beach. Upon arrival, they found a fire originating from the first floor of a 2-story apartment complex. Thanks to the swift action of the fire crews, the fire was contained to just 1 room. However, during their efforts, a more concerning discovery was made. Within the apartment, they discovered a marijuana grow operation and a small honey oil lab. This incident highlights a significant and ongoing challenge in our county. Despite the permitted commercialization of marijuana, illegal grow operations and unregulated production continue to thrive, posing substantial risks to our community. The presence of such an operation in a residential area is alarming, not only due to the potential fire hazards as seen in this instance, but also because of the health and safety risks associated with unregulated production. Illegal grow facilities often lack the proper safety measures and can involve hazardous materials, as evidenced by the need for hazmat consultation at this scene. The potential for explosions, chemical spills, and other dangers puts both residents and first responders at risk. Furthermore, these operations frequently bypass environmental regulations, causing damage to our ecosystem and wasting precious resources. The fire on Orchard Avenue is a stark reminder that we must remain vigilant and proactive in addressing these illegal activities. Illegal operations continue to endanger our community, and decisive actions must be made to protect our residents and uphold the safety and integrity of our neighborhoods. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this morning. Again, all remaining speakers will be heard at the conclusion of today's session. All right. The next item of our agenda is the approval of time's up. Statements of proceedings for the regular meeting of May 22nd, 2024, Flood Control District meeting of May 22nd, 2024, and the Housing Authority meeting of March 13th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second? We have a motion. We have a motion by Supervisor Anderson, a second by Supervisor Montgomery Steppe. Please vote. And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors who are being present and voting aye. Great. We will now proceed with the formation of our consent calendar, items 1 through 6, Flood Control District item 1, and Housing Authority items 1 and 2. Members of the public will be able to comment on the consent calendar after the supervisors pull the items they would like for discussion. On behalf of Chairwoman Vargas, would any of her colleagues like to pull any items for discussion? Supervisor Montgomery Steppe?
No, I don't want to pull any items.
Thank you. Supervisor Desmond?
None to pull or comment on, and like to approve consent calendar.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson?
I just have a quick question on item 6.
Mike.
If somebody could just
Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I don't have anything to pull, but I had a quick question on item 6, and that was just while it's a single source contract.
Sure. Through the chair, the board has a policy A87, that addresses competitive procurement. And that policy allows single source contracts in certain circumstances. Two of those circumstances are where the procurement is used for services from a provider with unique knowledge, skill, or ability not available from other sources. And another circumstance for exemption is for continuity, when the procurement is for goods or services where continuity of providers will provide efficiency or critical knowledge, and other providers of those goods or services cannot provide similar efficiencies or critical knowledge. And those circumstances are present here. So the World Design Capital is uniquely situated to satisfy this contract because it combines the expertise in binational community engagement and an expansive and impactful cross-border network, as well as collaboration within the San Diego-Tijuana region. It has already in place strategic partnerships with cross-section organizations and experience with humanity-centered design. So it provides a cost-effective and inclusive strategic master planning services for that region. And there will also be a component of community outreach built into the scope of work for this contract.
No.
Nope. Okay. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer.
Hi, thank you so much. Just want to uplift the good work of the team on item 5. I think this is a really exciting, important step in the right direction to clean up the Tijuana River Valley. So good work to everybody. I'm very excited about that. But I think we have to continue to stay focused on the larger issue of the ongoing Tijuana sewage crisis, so that the good work of this cleanup doesn't continue to get swamped by kind of the ongoing sewage flows. So step in the right direction, but we're going to have to keep at it and keep fighting. So thank you. And then I would like, could I just abstain? I don't need to pull item 6. I just would like to abstain. Just for the record, I'm not clear. It's not clear to me that I feel comfortable that this entity meets the criteria for a single source. So I'm just not comfortable with that. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out what the sort of like community engagement plan was to get community input around the vision. Obviously, I'm really excited about something moving forward and the active recreation. I think that's all great. I just wasn't really comfortable with the process. I didn't feel like it was cooked enough in terms of community engagement to be then putting out to a bid for a company to kind of figure out how to put together an investment prospectus without first coming back to us with greater clarity after having received community input. So just explaining why I'm abstaining for those 2 reasons, but no objection whatsoever to the core vision of active recreation in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now show Chairwoman Vargas's comments on the screen. And Chairwoman Vargas has noted she will second the item. here. Good morning, colleagues. I'd like to make a few remarks regarding consent items 5 and 6. Growing up in the San Diego border region, I experienced firsthand the scarcity of safe recreation spaces. Families in South County have always faced the challenge of traveling great distances to places as far as Temecula, Oceanside, or even Jamul to just to play a soccer match or a baseball game. I've heard countless stories from parents struggling to find places for their children to play, learn, and thrive. This has to change. Our historically underserved communities deserve transformational and innovatives essential for their health, growth, and their overall well-being. Investments that kids, parents, and the families of the District 1 have been denied in the past. For too long, the reputation of the Tijuana River Valley Regional Park has been trashed or has been tarnished by the ongoing sewage crisis. And while I remain committed to addressing this issue, I believe it is equally crucial to broaden our focus to tackle the disparities and lack of green spaces in South County. Not long ago, I learned about the unique work the World Design Organization was doing worldwide. Places across the world such as Valencia in Spain, Helsinki in Finland, and Cape Town in South Africa, among others, have proudly held the title of World Design Capital in the past. In 2024, the San Diego-Tijuana region earned this prestigious designation. Our unique geographical location adjacent to the busiest port of entry in the Western Hemisphere and our legacy of cross-border collaboration earned us this honor and opportunity. The WDC brings unique expertise in binational community engagement and has abilities and knowledge to leverage binational resources from the San Diego-Tijuana region in public engagement and master planning to address social justice and inclusiveness. The vision of the WDC for our binational mega region resonated deeply with stories I've heard from parents in South County. It resonated with my own story growing up as an immigrant and from Teresa. With deep roots throughout the San Diego-Tijuana region and longest standing connections to the design community, the WDC team is uniquely suited to work on the gateway to the California's project, a project that is near and dear to my heart. The vision for the Gateway project includes integrating recreational opportunities for children, green spaces for our communities to enjoy, art for everyone to appreciate, and new business opportunities for local small businesses and farmers striving for a healthier and more sustainable future. The Gateway to the Californias is more than just a project. It is an investment in South County communities aimed to address longstanding inequities that have historically existed in the beautiful district I proudly present. Combined with other county-led efforts, this project holds the potential to completely transform the area, its infrastructure, economic development, and environmental issues. I'm confident that the partnership will lay down the groundwork for future community-oriented projects that will benefit the community. Before I finish, I want to thank our dedicated staff for believing in my mission and for their commitment to making San Diego County a better place for all. I also want to extend my gratitude to our partners, including the YMCA, which does amazing work for our youth, and the WDC, which fosters innovative partnerships and deeper community involvement in shaping the spaces where we live. Together, I truly believe we can create a more equitable and sustainable future for all. Thank you, and I hope my colleagues will support these items. And again, just to note for the record, Chairwoman Vargas has seconded the motion. And with that, we will now call the public speakers forward. We have 10 total requests to speak on the items on the consent calendar, 2 individuals in person, and 8 requesting to speak by phone. For any members of the public that have requested to speak on items on the consent calendar, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll go ahead and begin with the in-person speakers. I'd like to invite forward Mark and Ken. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. And if you could please begin by stating your name for the record.
Mark, Number 3, will the improvements be smart streetlights with ALPR cameras like China has? 6, relying on a single source contract is never good. And who is World Design Capital? San Diego, Tijuana 2024. See YouTube videos entitled This, which will take you to their page. This is the first video I saw there highlighted on children and mental health. And let's see, also see the title, this one, Governor Newsom's program to transform kids' mental health. Yes, it will, because all of these are 2 articles, the last 2 with Newsom, they're articles, titles, not YouTube videos. The others are on YouTube. All of these are promoting young children being diagnosed very early for mental problems. And of course, the pharmaceutical industry will have them taking meds. And now there are children, of course, who do have problems, and there is an increasing problem caused mainly by the fact that Newsom, his totalitarian measures during COVID and during the period that they cite in some of these articles is that they weren't around other children. Young children couldn't see faces. Math and language skills didn't develop properly, etc. I have little time, so I have to move on, but that's really dangerous, what they're promoting. And it's a global organization, of course. 1, this is a Hegelian dialectic scam to transform more public land into their corporate control with their own tax dollars used against us. See UN Agenda 21 wildlands map to see the color-coded areas U.S. citizens won't be allowed in. It's most of the map, and this is how it happens. 2, a more important question is what roads are not listed and won't be resurfaced.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Ken Brennicke, Ramona resident. Item number 2 on your consent calendar contains 2 projects within the Ramona area that I would call zombie projects. Today I would like to focus on one of these, the proposed Ramona Street extension. This first appeared on the capital improvements list in 2005 when nothing was really known about the project. The Ramona Community Planning Group didn't know, for instance, that there was a 36-inch City of San Diego aqueduct in the easement. Between 2005 and 2011, 4 separate designs were proposed by the DPW, and all were deemed unworkable. This is because there are at least 12 major problems with these designs, and if you fix some, others are exacerbated. So there is no workable design. It has remained on the Ramona Capital Improvements list because the RCPG members have rubber stamped it and not looked deeply enough at the problem to understand the difficulties. November 2011 was the last design tendered by the DPW. In August and September of last year, a petition to remove the project was circulated to households within 1 mile of the project. We have currently 483 signatures against what one signer called the stupid road. I urge the Board of Supervisors to look deeply at this project and strike it from the CIP list and the general plan. $1.5 million has been spent on it so far, but because there's no workable solution, further funds will be wasted. There has been no solution for 19 years because there can't be. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll begin with our first caller.
Good morning. My name is Paloma Aguirre, and I'm the mayor of the city of Imperial Beach, located in District 1. I am calling in to register my opposition to item 6, the Gateway to the Californias project. Although District 1 needs additional green spaces, this project, although appreciated, is somewhat putting the cart before the horse. As you're aware, South District 1 is under a state of emergency relating to the toxic pollution caused by the Tijuana River. This board has also declared a public health crisis back in 2021.
A recent analysis conducted on soil in and around the Tijuana River detected over 170 types of toxics and pesticides and heavy metals. Many of the detected contaminants are a direct result of transboundary flows and are known to be persistent, carcinogenic, toxic, and can be resuspended in water and air. Furthermore, areas throughout the river valley are blanketed in uncontrolled sediment, trash, and sewage every time it rains. Tijuana River flows have flooded and ponded sewage and toxic contaminated waters throughout the valley since the January 22nd storm and continue to emanate hydrogen sulfide and sulfur dioxide as found by this body's Air Pollution Control District. We appreciate the chairwoman's leadership in sending a letter to the CDC, which urges them to examine the prevalence of these contaminants caused by the Tijuana River. We're also very grateful to this board for yesterday's approval of air filters to be deployed in these communities. I would humbly request that the $500,000 proposed for this project be redirected and better used in remediation of the toxins contaminating the valley and to supply a higher number of air filters so desperately needed, not just in communities adjacent to the river valley, but in communities such as Imperial Beach. Thank you so much for your leadership and consideration.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Paula Bold. Thanks, Paloma. Those of you who were at yesterday's meeting had an intro to the dangers of single source. That is getting stuck for years with a lousy contractor who breaks rules and laws, like 2.9 mil of improper receipts and medical employees without proper background checks. Youth sensors, noses. This smell and sewage has been around for 30 years. I bet you'd actually know what the problem is and where it is. And why are we trying to develop the TJ Valley when there are huge pollution and immigration problems? It's like, come play and hike in the TJ River Valley Regional Park watershed, and if you find any garbage, I hope you clean it up for us and don't get raped, robbed, or sick. Fix the problems first. Number 5, the YMCA clearing sewage, planting trees, and posting signs. Of course, it would be more effective if the sewage plants, which are broken, were fixed and causing problems worse than the sewage. But you want to leverage and be a place-based hub to 43 schools in Chula Vista with kids being exposed to all that. Canal Fit, even. To be honest, I don't think this is the YMCA's mission, and I'm not sure it can handle the whole thing by itself. But, you know, we got to think of our kids and look at the problem as a whole, not just little bits and pieces. You know, it's like putting air filters in a few homes.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
Truth, item 1, the county corporation's land grabbing another 540 acres in San Isabel for over $4.7 million, plus almost $80,000 a year for maintenance. Item 4, was there only one application for 2 different properties being vacated? Item 5, noted $20 million federal debt dollars from the Inflation Creation Act to go to a public-private fascist partnership with the international socialist organization known as the YMCA for the border eroding gateway to the California's pet project. If the YMCA isn't even sure what a woman is, how are they going to tackle pollution reduction strategies at the Tijuana River Valley Park? There's no legitimate reason why only one organization should get the contract, but there is a conflict of interest reason. Item 6, the World Design Capital came from UCSC, Todd Gloria, Tijuana Mayor, Montserrat Caballero, and billionaire Malin Burnham, who was on the YMCA board. There's the potential conflict of interest. Even Paloma doesn't approve. It cost over $500,000 just for the city to be chosen as the capital winner. San Diego City Council member Raul Campillo pushed for $3 million of American taxpayer money to be wasted on this, probably because he got an all-inclusive trip to Valencia, Spain to see how the scam works. Who cares about storm infrastructure or roads? Glenn Babb, the South African commissioner, said the World Design Organization is, quote, an organization whose sole purpose is to con innocent cities and said thinking there's a benefit to be derived from this title. The whole project was a vanity project by our mayor, end quote. The San Diego Tijuana capital is an even bigger con with 2 innocent cities to try to erode both our country's unique cultures and collect checks from all of us. This $500,000 monopoly contract gives the brand new San Diego Tijuana World Design Capital 2024 organization money they don't have nor deserve, but really need to keep their fraud afloat. This whole World Design Capital scam was exposed by the Reader magazine. I recommend everybody read it. And by the way, Ryan, it's pronounced Helsinki, Finland. Thank you. Notice.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next caller.
Consuelo, item 5. More like gateway to Stinkyville. Once again, our local government over the years have done nothing. Yet we continue sweeping things under the rug, having each administration blaming the previous one year after year. Government will never resolve this. Why? Because it's purposeful. It's doing harm to the residents. And as I've mentioned before, they could care less about their own constituents and only care about keeping their jobs. So, yeah, that's what I got to say about this item.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
I mean, who wouldn't want to engage in a $20 million contract to clean up sewage, right? I mean, because, like, they're really going to do that. Let's put kids over there when it's totally unsafe and toxic. You know, are you going to be engaging in a lawsuit because of this? Because it's quite ridiculous that you are claiming an emergency and you know, wanting to actually study people's health while it's happening. But this all has to do with money and, like, your World Capital design in this park that you want to put where it's totally toxic. The earth is toxic. Everything is toxic about it. But it puts money in people's pockets. That's why you don't even care. It's like we're living in 2 different worlds, that there is an open border. There already is gateways to California. Every day people use them. It's called a border wall that they just climb over, which some of them were actually doing yesterday in San Ysidro. The fire department had to come in and save them. But, you know, nothing to see there, right? Because we don't have an invasion going on. The borders are totally secure. And, you know, we're putting kids in a toxic-filled area to go clean it up. Good for them, right? I mean, you guys should be the ones doing that. It's been a 30-year problem. And all of a sudden you now want kids to go, but I mean, you don't care that a 5-year-old's been raped. So I mean, I guess it's like we might as well traffic these children as well. You know, maybe somebody could pick them up along the way when they're riding the transit without an accompaniment, because they can ride for free along with the illegals. So perhaps we're just promoting, you know, destruction of children. But I don't know, maybe you think their immune systems are so resilient, right, that they can go and handle being in that toxic environment, cleaning up the crap that you guys should be cleaning up. But I thought it's the federal government's fault. Oh yeah, so the federal government is putting these kids in and having them do that. Is that the best option? Everything you guys do is upside down and inside out. It's bananas. It's like you. Oh my gosh! No wonder you don't care 5-year-olds raped, because.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning. This is Ellen Nash, the lifetime resident of San Diego County, calling in on behalf of Agenda Item 6, the World Design Center. I currently serve on the advisory board, and I would like you to support acknowledging and funding this particular project with regard to the cleanup of the Tijuana Valley River. As a lifetime resident of San Diego County, it is an embarrassment during the holiday when I have family in town and we can't even go to the beach, and that's one of my favorite areas that I've always been to when I was a child. So I'm asking you to partner with World Design Center and the Burnham Institute and others, and let's clean that Tijuana River up. It is not about us. It is about our future. It's about our children, and it's about the fact that we live in America's finest county, and let's stand up and support that project. It is a no-brainer and something we should have done a long time ago, and I want to thank the World Design Center and thank Mr. Burnham and others for stepping up to clean up the Tijuana River Valley. Thank you so much. Ellen Nash, San Diego, a lifetime resident, chair of the San Diego chapter of the Black American Policy Foundation of San Diego. Take care.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on items on the consent calendar. Chairwoman Vargas would like to call forward Mai Nawan from World Design Capital to brief the board and answer some questions.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Thank you for having me here today. I wanted to just address who we are, what WDC, and what we want to accomplish in the Tijuana River Valley. WDC is made up of three, in addition to the two cities, San Diego and Tijuana, three community-based organizations that have been working in the community and bringing together the community to accelerate change: the Burnham Center for Community Advancement, the Design Forward Alliance, and UC San Diego's Design Lab. And through this platform that we've created, the World Design Capital, this year, we've been working actually for the last 10 years to build this out, to create this platform where the community can engage. And so over 400 community groups and community members submitted proposals for us to support and elevate this year. And we are actually supporting and endorsing and amplifying 300 community initiatives and activations. 40 of them are impact projects that are distributed throughout the county. And, we feel that one of the biggest, most pressing issues facing us is the Tijuana River Valley. And if we didn't use this opportunity, this platform that we've convened and connected talented designers from not just our region, but across the globe to address these challenging problems in our community, then we're wasting this opportunity. And so we've really been dedicated to working in this community, but also trying to bring resources, additional resources to this region. We've been working closely with community partners to write 2 EPA change grants. Each of them are $20 million in order to bring additional investment into cleaning up the Tijuana River Valley. And so we hope that you support this, and we look forward to working with you. Any questions?
I do have one. Thank you so much for the explanation. It kind of answers my question, but in dealing, kind of being familiar with the World Design Capital from work at the city and going through our budget process there, I kind of have some similar questions, which are the local piece I'm very, very interested in. And it is great to get support and folks to sign on, but how is the World Design Capital engaging directly on a continual basis, especially when it comes to a financial benefit of the local businesses, local nonprofits on the ground here?
Yeah, so for this particular project, I'll just talk about this one, which is to work on the active recreation park within the Tijuana River Valley. We feel that creating a park that is driven by the community, meaning that the community is really shaping what goes in there, whether it be soccer fields or baseball fields, will create a regional destination so that people from all over will use that park and then generate economic benefit for the small businesses in the region, for the local businesses. What we've seen, and this comes from county reports, is that small businesses have really been suffering in that area because there hasn't been investment, because there isn't, because of the pollution. And so this is a multi-pronged strategy. One of the strategies is to build this active recreation park, but the other is that we're actively working on cleanup. And all of these efforts will actually benefit the local economy.
Thank you so much.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer.
Well, first of all, I want to thank our chairwoman for your foresight in having our speaker come, so thank you. That was very thoughtful. I think I mentioned that I wasn't clear what the community engagement plan was to get feedback from stakeholders. You know, I know we just had a mayor call in saying that she wasn't in support of the project, for example. So what will that look like to sort of like identify what the shared vision from the community is of what this space will look like?
So we're conducting a stakeholder map, so identifying stakeholders that are in the area, as well as organizations and individuals that have a stake in revitalizing the area. And so having that stakeholder map will allow us to identify who's already at the table and then who's missing, and then create a community-driven design process with those stakeholders. And so it'll be a multi-stage process where we work with some, right now, key stakeholders, the YMCA, also the Parks and Rec, and they have strong relationships out in the community as well. And so bringing those partners in, identifying who they work with, and then reaching out to other organizations and groups within the community. And once we have identified those organizations, then we will work with them in order to create the master plan for the park.
And Chairwoman Vargas would like me to read her notes. Her notes state, I have done community outreach and have a coalition of the Tijuana River Valley, the YMCA in Imperial Beach, and other business support and letters in Nestor. And she states, we have community support.
Absolutely. We've already been reaching out to a number of these organizations because of the connections that the Department of Parks and Rec already have.
Thank you. Not seen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And not seeing any more comments. Just want to note for the record that we did receive an errata for item number 5, which made changes to recommendation number 2. With that, we have a motion by Supervisor Desmond, seconded by Supervisor Vargas. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer has noted that she is going to abstain from voting from item 6. With that noted, go ahead and please vote. And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors and housing tenant commissioners who are present and voting aye to approve the items on the consent calendar on the regular agenda, the Housing Authority agenda, and the Flood Control District agenda. And again, just noting for the record that Supervisor Lawson-Remer abstained from item number 6. All right, we will now move into discussion item 7, notice public hearing in Green Hills Ranch Phase 2 specific plan amendment zone reclassification, tentative map, and mitigated negative declaration. We will now hand it over to the county team for our presentation.
Good morning, Chairwoman Vargas and supervisors. I am Bianca Lorenzana with Planning and Development Services. Today, Ashley Smith and I will be presenting on item number 7, which is the Green Hills Ranch project. The Green Hills Ranch Phase 2 project will provide 63 homes within a board-adopted infill area under VMT that is near existing residential development, recreational uses, and major roads. In addition, the project will preserve over 19 acres of open space and include a trail that connects to the existing county trail network. The project site is located north of the intersection of Adlai Road and Audubon Road in the Lakeside Community Planning Area within unincorporated San Diego County. On June 23, 2004, the Board of Supervisors approved the Green Hills Ranch specific plan. The specific plan covers an area of approximately 92 acres west of Lake Jennings and allows up to 147 homes, open space conservation and trails, and is separated into 2 phases. Phase 1 is located on 56 acres in the northern half of the specific plan and was approved for the development of 31 homes and approximately 44 acres of open space. The remainder of the specific plan was designated as Phase 2 and is subject to a future specific plan amendment, which this project proposes for an additional 63 homes. The project is located in the southern portion of the specific plan. Open space and homes occur northwest of the project site. Residential development is located directly to the south and to the east. Open space also occurs west of the site boundary. A water filtration plant operated by the Helix Water District is located just northeast of the site. 4 existing lots that are not a part of the project are located within the central portion of the project site. The project proposes a 63-lot single-family market-rate home development and includes proposed trails, open space, and road improvements to Lake Jennings Road. Secondary access is proposed on Adlai Road. The project includes 3 permit applications that are required to approve the project. The first is an amendment to the specific plan to include requirements for Phase 2, including criteria for setbacks, height limitation, architectural style, landscaping, and other items. The project also requires updates to the zoning for the site to be consistent with the proposed specific plan amendment and allow for clustering of the lots. A site plan is required prior to development to implement the requirements within the proposed specific plan. Finally, the tentative map is proposed to subdivide the property to create the 63 residential lots and the open space lots. During processing, concerns were raised regarding wildfire and wildfire evacuation from the community and stakeholders. A wildfire evacuation plan was prepared for the project and concluded it would not significantly impact evacuation of existing residents in the area. The project would have 2 potential evacuation routes, resulting in no impact on existing evacuation times. Further, evacuations are typically managed in a phased manner to avoid large area notices that result in congested roadways. The inclusion of the new road connection to Lake Jennings Park Road also provides additional evacuation capacity for the project and would be available to existing residents during an emergency. The Fire Protection Plan, or FPP, also evaluated impacts from wildfire. The FPP found that the project has adequate emergency services, fire access, water, ignition-resistant construction, defensible space, and a travel time of under 4 minutes. The project conditions require firewalls, safety devices for automated gates for emergency personnel, and wider roads. Representatives from the Lakeside Fire Protection District and the San Diego County Sheriff are also in attendance today and are available if the board has any questions.
During review, concerns were also raised regarding traffic generated from the project and that road improvements were needed. A traffic impact analysis, or TIA, was prepared for the project in accordance with the county's Transportation Study Guide, or TSG. The TIA identified that the project is within an infill area identified by the TSG and that the project does not have a VMT impact or require mitigation. The project proposes off-site improvements, including curb and gutter improvements at the intersection of Adlai Road and Audubon Road, and the intersection of Green Hills Way and Lake Jennings Park Road. Improvements along Lake Jennings Park Road would include turn lanes in and out of the site. The project also includes proposed gates at each access point to eliminate cut-through traffic. The project, which is located within the South County Multiple Species Conservation Plan, or MSCP, prepared a biological resources report to analyze potential biological impacts. As mitigation, the project proposes to preserve over 19 acres of open space, along with other mitigation measures that have been included as conditions for the project. The proposed open space is designed to maintain areas suitable for wildlife movement through the adjacent open space. Overall, the specific plan will result in approximately 67% open space. In accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, a mitigated negative declaration was prepared and made available for a 46-day public review period from March 23rd to May 8th, 2023. Public notices were sent to property owners within a 1,500-foot minimum radius of the project site, which included over 500 notices. Mitigation measures for aesthetics, biology, cultural resources, noise, recreation, transportation, and tribal cultural resources were required and are included in the conditions of approval for the project. 17 letters were received during the public review period from individuals, including residents in the community, organizations, and public agencies. Responses to comments have been prepared and are located in Attachment G of the board letter. Concerns and comments primarily focused on wildfire evacuation and fire protection, traffic and access, biological resources, and community character, which have been addressed in this presentation. On October 6, 2021, the Lakeside Community Planning Group voted to recommend approval of the project. On February 29, 2024, the Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of the project. At the hearing, the Commission recommended a condition that certain homes along the southern border of the project be limited to single-story to reduce impacts to the surrounding residents. This condition has been incorporated into the project. The Green Hills Ranch Phase 2 project will provide 63 homes within a board-adopted infill area under VMT, will preserve over 19 acres of open space, includes a trail that connects to the existing county trail network, and is consistent with the surrounding community character. As such, the department concurs with the Planning Commission and recommends that your board approve the project as presented and take the following actions. Adopt the environmental findings and approve the project, including the specific plan amendment, rezone, and the tentative map resolution. Staff also recommends requiring the applicant to enter into an agreement to defend and indemnify the county in accordance with county code in the amount of $1.25 million and direct PDS to revise the specific plan amendment. Public correspondence has been received in advance of today's hearing. It has been reviewed by staff and does not raise any new issues that have not been considered in the evaluation of the project or the CEQA analysis. This concludes our presentation, and staff is available for questions.
Thank you. I will now call the public speakers forward. We have 10 total requests to speak, 2 individuals in person, and 8 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record, we do have 1 group presentation coming from the applicant. Also note for the record that we did receive 1 e-comment on this item, which was neutral. For any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We will begin with the group presentation. You will have 10 minutes to address the board. All the members of the group must speak during that 10 minutes. Please self-regulate your time with the timer on the podium. Okay. As a reminder, each person of the group may speak for no more than 4 minutes. As you come forward, please state your name at the podium before you begin your presentation. I'd like to invite forward the first group presentation. That includes the following individuals: Clifton Williams, I believe it's Daniel Brunton, Dana Goodman, Steve Goodman, and Chris, and I believe it's Darlene.
Yep. Hi, Cliff Williams. I'm a land use analyst with the law firm of Latham & Watkins, and I'm going to let the applicant and the team kind of introduce themselves and then give you the presentation.
Hi, I'm Chris Darling, the project manager.
Stephen Goodman, owner. Our family has owned this property for approximately 50 years.
Dana Goodman, thank you very much for your time today.
Rob Rydeen, civil engineer. Thank you.
So good morning, supervisors. I'll be brief on this because your staff did a really good presentation, and I think the staff report is also really good. This has been a long time coming. Phase 1 of this project was approved in 2004, almost 20 years ago, with the 31 homes that you see in the northern section of the picture there. And in 2013, the Goodmans completed that phase 1, and phase 2 was actually applied for in 2016. So this has been 8 years in process at the county. Next slide. Phase 2 is a 63-unit subdivision. The specific plan that was approved in 2004 allowed a density of 1.6 units per acre, but overall between the two phases, it'll be completed with a density of just over 1 unit per acre. This has allowed for greater conservation of the surrounding area. In fact, the specific plan, as your staff was noting, conserves 67% of the land area owned by the Goodmans and puts it into conserved open space. This project actually facilitates the wildlife corridor through the canyon there, and it's located in the already disturbed areas of the site to reduce impacts on slopes and the surrounding canyon areas. Next slide. The project is located in a VMT infill area compliant with the VMT maps and the methodology that you guys approved about a year ago. Next slide. And the project actually completes the public trail system through this area. Next slide. I wanted to address specifically the Sierra Club comment letter because they're kind of the last folks that have been opposing the project, and I wanted to be very specific about it. First, the Sierra Club raises here the issue about climate change, and quite frankly, they have an issue with the VMT maps and the methodology that this board approved a year ago. That methodology was challenged in court by SURF and the Cleveland National Forest Foundation. This court sustained your approval of those maps and methodology, and we are following that methodology that was given us to us to use. This project also incorporates sustainable measures like rooftop solar. No natural gas will be used in the appliances, and participation also in the community choice aggregation program, which will reduce GHG impacts. Next slide. The next concern was fire and evacuation. As your staff said, we did a fire protection plan that was accepted by the Lakeside Fire Protection District, and the project will use the latest in ignition-resistant construction. They'll have sprinkler systems in them. These will actually be the safest homes in the area compared to the ones in around them. Also, actually, at the request of the Sierra Club and neighbors, we did an evacuation plan. We didn't have to do that, and that analysis found that if you actually took everybody in the existing area, as well as all of these, put them on the exact same street, we would increase the evacuation times by maybe 5 minutes, but that actually won't happen because of all of the egresses that are actually being created by this project. There's a dedicated egress that's being put onto Lake Jennings Parkway. So we feel that the existing area neighbors, as well as these folks, will be safe in this community. Next slide. With regard to the MSCP, this project actually facilitates the MSCP through this area, as your staff was noting, and by mitigating in the pre-approved mitigation area, both on-site and off-site, we actually help to create that preserve. So we're not quite sure what the comment is about here. This project complies with all of the mitigation ratios that are in the MSCP. So we, again, are complying with all of the rules that have been applied to this project. Next slide. Finally, I think there was some confusion in that letter about the use of natural gas. The project has a project condition there in green. We will not be using natural gas and not be using that or even plumbing for it. And then there are also other sustainable features, rooftop solar and others that I noted as well. Thank you. The bottom line is, next slide, San Diego needs housing. This is 63 units. We really do need housing. These VMT infill areas are the areas that you said is where that housing should go, and we are complying with that. This project has been a long time coming. It's been 8 years in the system here, and we really hope that you will join the Lakeside Community Planning Group, as well as the Planning Commission, who unanimously approved the project, and support the approval of the Green Hills Ranch specific plan. And we're available for questions if you have them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there stock or shareholders?
Mark. We are going to now hear from the individual speakers. I'd like to invite forward Mark and Caesar. You have 2 minutes to address the board. If you can please start by stating your name for the record.
You know, I came in thinking I didn't completely dislike this project, but I immediately changed my mind just now. So first of all, they didn't answer my question of whether it's stock or shareholders in this, which in most projects that the city partners with or agrees with, there are. And they make a lot of money, and it's not affordable or beneficial to the public at all, and doesn't help solve our housing problem, except for some very, very rich people. No gas. This is part of their agenda, their UN agenda, and it's all under the guise of being good for us. But the truth is, in a country that has the greatest oil reserves in the world, the only people that aren't allowed to use it now are us, the public. I'm sure the government will be using it, especially the military. Anybody who's got a gas stove or knows people with electric stove knows the electric stoves are way more expensive than gas. And of course, they can also shut that off with everything being a smart stove or whatever. The degree to which this is not good is incalculable. It's part of their VMT program. Basically, they want to get people out of the rural areas and into the city centers where they can be controlled. This is a UN Agenda 21 goal, and they want to get rid of people driving privately. Now, if you were a totalitarian government, imagine the worst you can imagine. The greatest thing you can hope for that all totalitarian governments do is to limit movement and to control people and control little areas and take control of private property. That is what they are doing now with these programs. And it's totally evil, and I wish I had more time to tell you about it. See these two videos on YouTube. And Rosa Corey, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Start there.
Thank you.
This is our county, my county. We welcome the expansion in horizontal projection. It's a gateway to urbanization. But there is more important, vital significance. Why? Because this is the source, the area, the site is a source of our clean water. Clean water, not beautiful housing projects that we must protect, defend, secure. The housing or shelter improvement for humans is just secondary here. Look at the setting. Why not improve our reservoir? Why not improve our treatment plant? Why not do some reforestation project, vegetations that are tough for this kind of natural topography? Why not put up a solar collection complex or industry around the site to run and power the treatment plant? Improve the reservoir, improve the catching power. Let these housing projects be somewhere else, safer.
Thank you. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll begin with our first caller.
Paul the Bold, excuse me, the picture that they showed for phase one looks like the houses are kind of packed in. I mean, it doesn't look very healthy to live in, but, and I think they said it wouldn't have much of VMT impact at all. I think it will. And it won't leave very much of the open space that was promised. Also, you say you'll build it with fire-resistant materials, but frankly, given the nature of wildfires, I bet they'll burn anyway in a fire, big fire. Building height limits for 1 story, they set a maximum height of 20 feet. And 2-story houses limited to a maximum height of 35 feet. To me, it seems like a joke. I mean, if you have 8 or 9 foot ceilings, this could easily be 2 stories and 3 stories. So, I mean, maybe you should just fix up the existing homes. But, you know, to me, the plans for this whole thing need to be revised. And maybe you can make it acceptable, but it looks like the whole thing has a lot of problems. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Consuelo. Amen. Paul the Bold, ditto to what you said, and Senor Cesar and Mark. Yeah, this is, in fact, a UN agenda, a plan, and it's unfortunate that people have not looked into this by now. But bit by bit, this administration, this local government moves incrementally, and all of a sudden the people are going to be like, hey, what the hell happened? What? Yeah, they move swiftly. Not swiftly, they move, you know, bit by bit. And all of a sudden you're going to find yourself in a place where there will be many people regretting they weren't paying closer attention to what, in fact, everybody here is doing. The people working for the county, the state, federal, all the same. Everybody's in lockstep. So I encourage, it's dire. Let's get together. Let's do this. Yep, we sound like the lunatics because guess what? We're paying attention. We don't care about the Padres. We don't care who's going to be in the next World Series. We don't care about any of that junk. We care about what is going to happen to the future of humanity. And the people pushing these policies as well. It's going to happen to your loved ones. So come on, wake up. It's not worth the paycheck, man. It's not. Love you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
It's truth. I'd like to give my condolences to the 2 single-family homes that will be demolished for this project. And then I'd like to celebrate the future 63 single-family homes, replacing them in Lakeside as part of the Green Hills Ranch plan. But a no to the Helix Municipal Water District and their water treatment plant, because they're planning on polluting the natural water of Lake Jennings with toxic toilets to tap water. There shouldn't be any issue with this housing being an state-decided, county-approved high fire hazard severity zone, because the chances of these homes going in flames will be lowered if, 1, people avoid electric vehicles, electric scooters, and electric bikes and their combustible lithium batteries. And 2, because these are single-family homes, there's more room to evacuate. There's more room for firefighters to respond. And because Highway 8 is nearby, people will have access to an evacuation route. Compare that to the stack effects where people tend to not have cars to escape fires, and then when those tall buildings catch fire, firefighters have difficulty responding. Example, see the stack effects that quickly went up in smoke in Redwood City the other day. It even seemed like a lithium fire because there was black smoke, the flames kept intermittently building, and firefighters could not put it out. It's hard to require a $1.2 million security from Atlas Investments in case the county gets sued by environmental extremists who don't want good housing for people. I like the 6-foot high fences with non-transparent material. I'd actually like to see 8-foot high fences because there's too many tall people these days. My only question is the equity and sustainability statements talking about encouraging public transit, because Lakeside barely has buses. But if, Joel, you're going to finally fix that phone addiction and start speaking up more at Sandag to get some transportation equality for areas like Lakeside, I welcome that. But MTS has no money, so good luck, because Sandag prioritizes ghost trains, multi-million-dollar studies, managed lanes, and toll roads instead. That might mean Sandag is bad. That's what I came to, but I like the site. Build the homes.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Crazy because this is a United Nations agenda, and the United Nations is also funded by the United States the most, and they're funding the invasion that's happening in our nation. And it's sad to see how much you will do to pretend to save the planet, and all while the people suffer at the cost of you trying to do that, because you can't just build homes. You have to sit here and, oh, we need to do it in this way because otherwise the planet's going to die, and, you know, we need to give people back their own sewage because it's the only way to give them clean water as opposed to drilling for it. And, you know, you guys have to have control of people's movements. That's why you want them in a densely populated area. And so I don't understand why you think that, you know, that would be giving people better air quality if they're, you know, sitting there and really close together. It's like, look at New York. I mean, do people want to live in that? No, that's the point. People want to live where they want to live. They don't need the government sitting here and dictating where they're able to, what they're able to do, when they're able to do it, and you punitively tax them or incentivize or de-incentivize just to change the behaviors of people to get them to conform to the way that you guys are pushing stuff. And it is a United Nations agenda, and you guys are in bed with them. And it's sad because it's like, you don't care if the people are in a home or not. You constantly need more and more and more and more homes as the days go on, and you're producing less and less and less. And it's like all at the cost of the planet, like, or to pretend to save it. So it's ridiculous that that's your guys' agenda over actually providing what people need. So that's why people need to understand that this is about control. It's not about, you know, having the freedoms to be wherever you want. It's about them controlling all resources so that they can dictate your movements. And eventually, you know, we're going to have to pay to go outside of our 15-minute zone. And, you know, if people don't want to believe that, then you're going to be in your 15-minute zone wondering how you got there, and it's because you didn't pay attention.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item. On behalf of Chairwoman Vargas, do any of her colleagues have comments? Not seeing any. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Just, I guess, for the applicant or for staff here. So I'm wondering, I think it's a great project, and we absolutely need more housing here in San Diego County. For the part that's not a part, that's on every one of these maps, what's the zoning and what's the operation on that plot of land?
Supervisor Desmond through the chair. Those are separately owned private properties. They have single-family homes on those properties, but they are not part of this proposed development project.
Okay, because I couldn't tell if it was an operation or as a business or so it's not a commercial. It's other homes. Okay, that's fine. I was just kind of curious. I just want to make sure it was compatible and we weren't going to be hearing issues later. So I'll make a second on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Motion by Supervisor Anderson, second by Supervisor Desmond. Please vote. And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye. We will now move on to discussion item 8, update on developing a County of San Diego vehicle miles traveled, VMT mitigation program and associated exemption to the California Environmental Quality Act, which is a continuation from the May 22nd land use meeting. We will now hand it over to our county team for a presentation.
Good morning, Chairwoman Vargas and members of the board. I'm Mark Slovic with Planning and Development Services. Today I will be presenting on item number 8, which is a continuance from the May 22nd board meeting involving an update on developing a County of San Diego Vehicle Miles Traveled, or VMT, mitigation program. On May 22nd, staff provided an update on the development of a VMT mitigation program within the unincorporated area and 4 options that our staff are evaluating. The board directed staff to return today with an overview on how the county evaluates projects under the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, since the adoption of VMT. Specifically, the 15183 exemption process for projects that are consistent with the county's general plan. The board also asked for an update on recent legal cases and how they may affect our implementation of VMT and use of the 15183 exemption process, and directed staff to bring back the 4 mitigation program options for consideration and direction. Today's presentation will focus on the board's request for a report back on how we evaluate individual projects under CEQA after VMT, specifically projects that are consistent with the general plan. After providing an update on the 15183 exemption process, we'll summarize the VMT mitigation program options presented on May 22nd, then receive the board's direction on the options. Staff will continue evaluating the options and return in the fall with the results of the analysis. Projects submitted to the county are required to go through environmental review under CEQA, which is state law. Depending on the type of project and potential environmental impacts, there are different types of CEQA review. The easiest and least expensive is an exemption process, where a project can move forward with little to no environmental analysis. If a project does not qualify for a CEQA exemption, it may require a more detailed review that requires a mitigated negative declaration or environmental impact report, which can require numerous environmental studies and require costly mitigation. An EIR process is the most expensive and time-consuming process under CEQA. One CEQA exemption that the county uses frequently on development projects is the CEQA 15183 exemption process. The 15183 exemption process is for projects that are consistent with the county's general plan and zoning. For example, if a project proposes 10 homes on a site that allows 10 homes under the general plan, the project would be able to use the 15183 exemption process. The benefit of the 15183 exemption process is that it allows projects to tier off the adopted general plan, providing an easier, more streamlined process that has more legal protections than other exemptions or doing a mitigated negative declaration, but without the cost of doing an EIR. Staff have used the 15183 exemption process on approximately 90 projects that have accounted for over 1,900 approved homes, with approximately 80% of the units being for sale homes. However, since VMT was adopted in 2020, the number of projects approved using the 15183 exemption process has been going down every year, with 1 project approved last year. The question raised at the May 22nd hearing is whether we can use the 15183 exemption process for projects even though the general plan and EIR were approved before VMT. Before we provide an overview of the 15183 process, we'll provide some quick background on the county's general plan. The general plan is the county's long-term blueprint for future growth in the unincorporated area. It reflects an approach to planning that balances the needs for adequate infrastructure, housing, and economic vitality with maintaining and preserving existing communities, agricultural areas, and open spaces. In 2011, the Board of Supervisors approved the update to the county's general plan, which reduced the overall housing capacity by approximately 15% and shifted approximately 20% of future growth from eastern areas to western communities. Overall, the general plan has a remaining housing capacity of approximately 58,000 units within the unincorporated area. The general plan also required a programmatic environmental impact report, or EIR, that was also approved in 2011. The general plan EIR predated VMT, which went into effect in 2020. As a result, the general plan EIR studied traffic using level of service, or LOS, which looked at traffic congestion, not VMT. VMT was a change in state law and CEQA that went into effect after the general plan was adopted in 2011 and was intended to be used on projects moving forward starting in 2020. Since VMT was adopted, staff have applied the county's adopted VMT guidelines to new projects, including those eligible for an exemption under 15183 that are consistent with the county's general plan and zoning. For projects that are exempt from VMT, including projects located within VMT efficient and infill areas, projects continue to use the 15183 process because they do not have VMT impacts. However, staff have requested VMT analysis on general plan consistent projects where VMT applies under the county's guidelines, specifically larger housing projects located outside of VMT efficient and infill areas. There are also other situations where projects can tear off a previous environmental analysis and not have to address VMT. For example, specific EIRs or environmental documents that were adopted before VMT, projects can continue to rely on those environmental documents without having to address VMT, as long as the project does not increase the overall traffic resulting from the project. For example, if a previously approved project had a total of 1,000 vehicle trips, and any subsequent projects could continue to tear off the previous environmental document as long as they don't exceed the 1,000 vehicle trips. If a subsequent project proposes to increase the number of trips to 2,000, a VMT analysis would be required to look at the increase in traffic. Staff have utilized this approach on a number of projects, and case law has confirmed that this approach complies with the requirements of CEQA. Since VMT went into effect in 2020, there have been very few court cases that have addressed VMT or 15183. At the May 22nd meeting, the board asked for an overview of two specific cases, the County of San Diego versus Hilltop case and the Olin versus City of Newport Beach case. In the Hilltop case, the court found that the county should have approved the 15183 exemption for a proposed construction recycling facility, and that an EIR should not have been required. The court did not make any specific ruling regarding VMT, as the case did not address the specific question regarding a project being processed now under the county's VMT guidelines and whether they should use the 15183 exemption without having to do VMT analysis. The court determined the county didn't have enough evidence to require an EIR due to the impacts, including VMT, but did find that VMT did not apply because the project was approved prior to the adoption of VMT. In the Olin case, the court found that a change from traffic impacts using LOS to VMT is not new information that requires additional environmental review. The court found that the City of Newport Beach could use an addendum to an EIR using LOS so long as the impacts of the project were not greater or more impactful than the original analysis. In that case, the project was able to show that the project's traffic was less than the original analysis done in the EIR. Recent case law on VMT supports the county expanding the use of 15183 exemption process, even though the general plan was approved prior to VMT. The case law around 15183 exemption process and VMT is evolving, and we will continue to monitor the case law to ensure our use of the 15183 exemption process complies with CEQA. Although we cannot apply the 15183 exemption process to every project in every circumstance, the 15183 exemption process can be used where an individual project can demonstrate that a project's impacts were adequately covered under the county's general plan, and then no additional VMT analysis would be required. The 15183 exemption process would allow development projects to move forward in areas that are not VMT efficient or infill under the board's adopted VMT guidelines. However, CEQA does prohibit the county from requiring additional CEQA review on projects consistent with the general plan if all the impacts were previously analyzed and there are no project-specific significant impacts peculiar to the project. No board action is required regarding the 15183 approach, as staff will continue to evaluate projects on a case-by-case basis. To ensure consistency in the use of the 15183 exemption process moving forward, staff will elevate each request to executive leadership in the department and coordinate with council before a determination is made to ensure a project qualifies before an applicant invests a substantial amount of time and money in the process. Staff will also be updating information on our website for customers and stakeholders on the 15183 exemption process and clarify the process. Staff are committed to using the 15183 exemption process and will continue to look for ways to apply it to general plan consistent projects. Since adoption of VMT, staff have been coordinating with and monitoring other jurisdictions across the state. Implementation of VMT varies widely across the state, but several jurisdictions have chosen to update their general plans to address VMT, including preparing EIRs. These include the counties of Santa Cruz, Placer, San Bernardino, Sonoma, Napa, and others. Staff also found several jurisdictions that allow the 15183 exemption process of tiering off a general plan adopted prior to VMT, including Mono County and the city of Burlingame. Updating the general plan EIR to address VMT is included under option 1 of the VMT mitigation program options, and staff will be further evaluating the option when we return in the fall with additional details. While projects using the 15183 exemption process will not need VMT mitigation, there will be projects that do not qualify for the exemption process that will need VMT mitigation. As a result, staff are continuing to research and develop the 4 options presented, along with the other items the board requested and return in the fall. Option 1 is an unincorporated area program that would apply broadly across the unincorporated area with limited mitigation. Option 2 is a regional and/or partnership program that includes working with SANDAG on a regional mitigation program. Option 3 is a focused mitigation program in specific transit opportunities, or TOAs. And option 4 would also include a focused mitigation program in the TOAs, but would also include potential increases to housing densities, which would require a change to the county's general plan. These 4 options would be voluntary and available to project applicants if they choose to participate in the program and receive the benefits of streamlining and not having to do their own VMT analysis or mitigation. In the fall, when the board selects an option, staff will begin the EIR process, which will take up to 1.5 years. If the board directs increases to housing densities under option 4, it would extend the time frame to 3 years due to the additional environmental analysis and stakeholder outreach involved with changes to the general plan. Staff will also provide an update on any funding needed to implement option 4 when we return in the fall. In addition to the 4 options presented on May 22nd, the board asked staff to include additional information and another option when we return in the fall. The additional option requested, option 1A, would include a VMT mitigation program within the general plan village areas, and the board asked staff to work with transit providers on the SANDAG regional mitigation program option. The board also requested that staff provide additional information on the number of housing units built since the general plan was adopted in 2011, how the high fire zones overlay with the VMT areas, fire insurance for homes located in the high fire zones, and the status of the court case regarding the county's VMT guidelines. Planning and Development Services recommends that the board find that today's actions are exempt from CEQA, receive the update and information on potential VMT mitigation program options, and direct staff to continue to research the 4 options and return to the board in the fall with the results of the analysis on the mitigation program, including the additional option and items requested by the board on May 22nd. This concludes the staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now call the public speakers forward. We have 11 total requests to speak, 3 individuals in person and 8 requesting to speak by phone. I'd like to also note for the record, we received 1 e-comment on this item, which was in opposition. For any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, if you could please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. I'd like to invite forward the following individuals: Mark, Karina, and Lori. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and if you could please begin by stating your name for the record.
Mark, this is Agenda 21, literally. It's no longer a theory. You don't have to wonder. This is it happening right now by this board. So you need to see these videos. Most of these are on YouTube or one of these others. Rosa Corey is the foremost authority on this, recognized in California courts on this very subject of land use and property valuation. You need to see this video from 3 minutes and 30 seconds. There are parts 2 and 3 also. I don't have much time, so I'll have to just give you a brief, and here are some topics at different minutes. That Sandag is doing this. Nora is the chair here. She's also chair at Sandag. And they're the ones doing this VMT Global Agenda 21 stuff. And you can see their video of them doing this here. At 1 hour and 22 minutes and 50 seconds, they're talking about controlling your movement. Here are some times for this video, so you don't have to watch 3 or 4 hours of it like I did. So I can just give you real brief updates on different topics along the video. Now, if you look up UN Agenda 21 wildlands map, they literally will show in red the areas you won't be allowed in the United States, meaning American citizens. By the way, and I have 30 seconds left, VMT devices, they're already planning, they're talking about options, whether they'll just put a device in your car and charge you per mile, which of course will become really expensive after a while, or they'll just keep track of everywhere you're going. That's another option. There are 3 mitigation programs. They're going to choose the one that chooses our whole area because it, of course, will affect us and control us the most. So you need to see these videos.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lori Holt-Filer. Good morning, Chair Vargas and Supervisor. My name is Lori Holt-Filer. I'm the President and CEO of the Building Industry Association. I first want to thank the board for their request at the May 22nd meeting to understand how recent legal cases impact how the county processes projects that comply with our general plan. As the letter from Shepard Mullen outlined, the recent decision in the Hilltop case does not require additional VMT analysis or mitigation for projects that are consistent with the general plan. Reinstating the housing capacity outlined in the adopted general plan will allow for the path of the development of 58,000 homes in our incorporated area. This is critically needed in our county. To say these homes are needed is an understatement. We consistently hear that we are the most expensive county in the country, and we need to build the homes so that we can address needs by families. So we are happy to hear that staff has made a change in policy. Projects that meet the requirements of the general plan should move forward without additional burdens and costs. But we know this is not enough, and so we look forward to working with staff to further evaluate the mitigation options that look at increasing densities and building out the villages identified in the general plan. This is a great move forward in building the housing that we need in our county. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Karina Contreras. I'm here in my capacity as Transportation Policy Advocate for Climate Action Campaign. And I do just want to say I'm very grateful. I was thankful to hear the previous discussion and looking at all the options to see how we can actually get to building homes that are close to transit, to resources. The thing is, regulations are regulations, right? And if we want to, in the county, have more production of homes to meet the demand, it's going to be critically important that VMT mitigation is done, right? That is going to help the builders. It's going to help folks connect better to where they need to go. And, you know, looking at some of the options, option 2, with the regional mitigation, there's some extraordinary advances that can be done in the county under that option, and seeing that some of this has already started to move forward, I look forward to watching it unfold. When it comes to option 3 and option 4, I prefer option 4, even though it's going to take a little bit more time, but it does allow you all to take a look at increasing density where it makes sense. You know, even looking at areas like the Buena Creek Sprinter Station, increasing density there and completing connections to the surrounding communities is critically important. So I hope that, you know, we do see a great option of different VMT mitigation, so that way there's more tools on the table to increase housing production where it makes sense and where there's not an extraordinary fire risk. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. We will now hear from those that have requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you'll be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. I'd like to remind the callers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll begin with our first caller.
Paula Bold. The business impact section says a VMT mitigation program could help facilitate additional development and support the development, construction, and housing sectors. That mitigating the VMT could promote development? I'm sure it could. If you have to drive less, you're going to stay near already developed areas, not in the open space or East County. The lands you abandon will open up to greedy, usually, developers who almost certainly won't have your best interests at heart. People do not like paying the tolls and fees that this entails either, or the extra time to manage these things and having to use just certain roads. And I mean that after all the equity talk you promote to people with limited means, perhaps with large mortgages, rent, or family obligations, will end up having to choose between the fast route with more tolls and getting work on time, and the slow road with no tolls, but maybe be fired for chronic lateness. So much for equity. Another reason to go with quality over equity and reject arbitrary VMT regulations that are anti-people. And now, by the way, we know the lowdown on the Hilltop case. No secrecy. Wow. Thanks. Thanks to the attorney who mentioned it, and thanks for listening.
Thank you. Next caller.
Consuelo. Yes, Rosa K is the authority only thanks to Nikki Rapana, who Rosa Corey actually got this information from, AKA plagiarized. Yeah, I just like giving credit where credit is due. So thank you, Nikki, who is still alive, by the way, and she's barely making it in Alaska. Okay, so VMT. Yes, VMT will happen. Why? Again, because the majority of the people are not paying attention. Karina, there's no housing crisis. There's only greed and agendas. You, like so many others, are being fooled. Look further into what your job is calling you to do. It's all, in fact, to have the people confined in areas and for total control. Sounds outrageous, right? A conspiracy theory, but guess what? It's not. It's actually happening. And a lot of these things are playing out exactly by the playbook. Please, I encourage you, look into it. We don't just call in here, meeting after meeting, to waste our time. There is, in fact, things happening. Everybody's in lockstep. Everybody is doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing to keep a paycheck. Nobody wants to look further into anything. Nobody cares to. Everybody's just kind of like leaves in the wind, being blown, and yeah, no happy ending there. I'm done.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Good morning, Chair Vargas and Supervisors. My name is Justine Murray. I'm the Executive Director of Public Affairs for the San Diego Regional Chamber. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the board again regarding current county VMT policies and housing throughout San Diego. We're proud to be the largest local chamber on the West Coast, representing about 2,200 businesses and over 300,000 jobs. We value the importance of ensuring more housing and jobs are available in our region. As you've heard before, we're deeply concerned with how the undersupply and lack of production affects our local economy and our members. Our mission is to make the San Diego region the best place to live and work, and production of new housing is critical to see our mission through. For our region's businesses, employers, and employees to be successful, we need to ensure we have an adequate and thriving housing supply in San Diego. When we speak to businesses in our region and various industries, we hear time and time again that the current cost of housing and the current housing supply in the county remains a top barrier for recruiting talent to our region. The Chamber is in strong support of the request to allow general plan compliant projects to move forward without any additional analysis or mitigation, and would welcome working with county staff and any other stakeholders and partners to establish a clear pre-qualification process for these projects. While the approved VMT policy was well-intentioned, it has drastically affected the ability to develop homes in our county. The general plan originally laid out 58,000 homes, and that's been reduced by about 50,000 homes for working San Diegans. I'd like to reiterate, we are still in strong support of option 1, provided by staff, an unincorporated area mitigation program, and we urge the board to move forward in analyzing this option and developing a future VMT mitigation program. The Chamber stands ready to partner with the county, other stakeholders, to address the dire need to simply build more housing for San Diegans and improve these numbers through policies and legislative efforts. Thank you for these updates today, and we look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Chair Vargas and members of the Board of Supervisors. Craig Benedetto speaking today on behalf of NAIOP San Diego. We spoke last time about our concerns regarding the trajectory of the VMT implementation program and its impacts on the county's unincorporated communities. As others have indicated, while well-intentioned, the approach the county has taken has significantly hampered the creation of new homes and commercial services. When the county went through the process of updating its general plan many years ago, it was a difficult moment. It was approved over the objections of many who saw their properties impacted as planned units were moved west. No one knew then what might happen in the future to dramatically alter the ability of that updated general plan to be used for the planned housing contemplated. It does appear now that with new information regarding the 15183 process provided at the last hearing, that general plan compliant projects can now legally move forward. We strongly support this direction. We do hope that the qualification process mentioned by staff for 15183 projects is not overly long, costly, or prohibitive. We also strongly support your further evaluation of mitigation options that are not overly onerous for those projects that cannot qualify for 15183. As stated before regarding staff's presented options, we support mitigation option number 1. In closing, we stand ready to work with county staff on ensuring that the county's policies work, help the unincorporated community, provide adequate housing and commercial services, and are legally sustainable. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Good morning, Chair Vargas and Supervisors. My name is Melanie Woods. I'm Vice President of Local Public Affairs at the California Apartment Association. CAA is a statewide nonprofit trade association serving rental housing owners, operators, and providers. We represent over 3,000 members in San Diego who provide homes to nearly 65,000 local families. We're in a housing and homelessness crisis. San Diego is one of the most affordable cities in the nation. Thank you for acknowledging the Hilltop decision and reevaluating your interpretation of necessary VMT mitigation. Please follow through and reinstate housing capacity allowed under the general plan and allow a path forward for 58,000 new homes. If we zoom out, the region is vastly underperforming in meeting the regional housing needs assessment goals. The RHNA requires the San Diego region to plan for 171,000 housing units during the period of April 30th, 2021 to April 30th, 2029. As a region, we've built less than 19,000 units so far, substantially less than the 64,000 units necessary to meet the need at this point in the cycle. Put another way, we're 3 years into an 8-year housing cycle, and we've only created 10% of the housing that's needed. The bottom line is we need more housing. Along with our coalition partners, we support further evaluation of mitigation options to allow for increased densities. We look forward to working with county staff on the 15183 process. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Kathleen Lippett. From a drug policy researcher and advocacy perspective, it is the responsibility of public officials, electeds, and our own public Department of Public Health to encourage drug policy backed by evidence-based science. More importantly, the county should be paying attention to the priorities identified by county unincorporated residents. One of the programs that is not popular among either unincorporated community residents or city planning groups is the social equity cannabis program. We already have enough, it's acknowledged we already have enough marijuana access in addition to home grows that start fires like the one in Ocean Beach recently. We've also got we've got delivery services, and there are plenty of retailers right now. The industry is well funded. Political lobbying has been successful in drowning out the voices of county unincorporated residents as well, who were never asked if they wanted these businesses in their neighborhoods. So it was a pleasant surprise when Mayor Gloria decided to cut that particular program for the city of San Diego. I hope the county has enough courage to do the same thing. Yes, the state has been offering grants to cities and counties that adopt these programs, but the cost of these programs, creating regulatory framework, staffing, oversight, are unsustainable. And the chances that the state will continue to provide the funding are highly questionable. It will become another unfunded state mandate, as many past mandates have become. Community residents want improved stormwater management, parks, playgrounds, safer neighborhoods, effective policies that decrease instead of increase homelessness numbers. They want the roads fixed.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
It's truth, translating the board letter to reality. In recent years, California has enacted significant changes in land development regulations to stifle single-family homes and to reduce the use and ownership of cars. These changes rely on totalitarian tools like CEQA exemptions to incentivize development in more urbanized areas while creating regulatory and financial barriers for development outside these areas. Using this new approach called vehicle miles traveled, projects located further away from urbanized areas are likely to be labeled as having high VMT impacts. And then these projects get accused of producing more of the greenhouse gases that cause the boogeyman known as climate change in order to de-incentivize single-family homes under new made-up state dictates. A project is given an extortion route called mitigation, where they can offer to pay for bike amenities, sidewalks, and access to public transit. This is intentionally challenging and expensive in the unincorporated areas, given that much of it is suburban or rural in nature. For example, the cost of extending transit or sidewalks would not be financially feasible or even practical in many cases. So developers can also pay tribute for other locations within the county to be able to have this new infrastructure, further inequitably harming unincorporated communities. The county's VMT mitigation extortion program includes increasing land use densities in certain communities, which means homes and businesses are closer together, potentially depriving people of privacy, sanity, and safety in the case of fire risk. 100% unaffordable housing developments generate fewer cars because nobody gets to own anything. People stay in poverty, depriving them of the ability to have freedom of mobility with a private car. No to option 2, it has no jurisdiction and cannot be held accountable. Good luck to Joel's loophole he mentioned, but the real solution is just say no to state and federal mandates. You don't have to be goals aren't good enough.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good morning, Chairwoman Vargas and Board of Supervisors. I'm Kathy Castle, President and CEO of the Lakeside Chamber, and I'm calling to voice the Chamber's opposition to the county continuing with the VMT plans for our community. As many of you may or may not know, and when the general plan was developed more than 25 years ago, it was very arduous task and contentious between the county staff and the community residents. There was even groups of people that gathered and organized just to try to fight for preserving East County's homes, industrial, and commercial interests. Once the general plan was finally completed, there were winners and there were losers. And as you know, the 2011 board approved the general plan that already reduces land use and pushes development further west. So development was strictly, severely restricted in some of the backcountry properties, and families with plans to split acreage to bequeath plots to their children were lost. There were lawsuits filed, and I understand they were settled. If the VMT is implemented, thousands of hours and money spent by the county staff will be wasted, and more lawsuits will be reignited. The ultimate goal with VMT is to reduce carbon footprint, and the best way to do that is to encourage housing and industrial commercial building to develop alongside each other so people can work in the community that they live in. The Lakeside Chamber supports the county to stick with the hard-earned general plan and once and for all kill the VMT for economic prosperity and the quality of life in the unincorporated areas of San Diego. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Go to our next caller.
It's crazy to hear people talk about, how much housing is needed, how we're in a deficit of that, and there's definitely not as many as there should be. You should be at 64,125, and if you're at 19,000, you're 45,125 short, just for the time being, and you still need the rest of them, the rest of the 171,000 homes. So it's sad that they don't see that these requirements, policies, and procedures, and all the things that you're doing to save the planet, it seems virtuous. So it's like they, in that they can think that they're doing something good, but they don't understand where this agenda comes from, and that has nothing to do with saving the planet. But if they read into the United Nations Agenda 21, 2030, 2050, I'm not even so sure they would clearly see what's going on because they're buying the bullshit. They're buying all of the propaganda that is being, just divulged, given out to the people on a massive scale, acting like we're just doing something so good, but they don't see that it's actually making the homes that need to be built not being able to be built. And sometimes you have to have your reality shatter in order to see and pull the wool off your eyes so that you can see clearly what's going on. This has nothing to do with what they tell you it does. But as long as you believe that, then you're going to believe that we should hinder the amount of houses that can be built just to mitigate vehicle miles traveled, because they're going to be taxing you for possibly vehicle minutes at some point, and it's going to keep you where you need to be. It has nothing to do with providing more options. It limits, it doesn't increase. And if people could see that, then they would see that they're being enslaved and that what we say is actually true. And it's not to just, be a conspiracy theorist, but there is a conspiracy that is taking place upon the people on a massive scale in many ways. And it's coming down the pipe from an unelected.
Thank you. Your time is up. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item. I will go ahead and bring Chairwoman Vargas's remarks up on the screen. All right. Thank you to county staff for their continued presentation and to all stakeholders for their comments. When you return to the board, I'd like to further look into option 2, regional and/or partnership mitigation program. This presents a collaborative opportunity for the county and cities across the region and transportation agencies to work together to solve some of the biggest challenges our region faces in terms of housing and climate change. These issues affect the most underinvested communities in our region as families struggle to pay rising rent and face historical injustices of climate-related air pollution in our communities. We need to bring everyone to the table, community, business, labor, and other governments with land use authority to come up with innovative solutions like transferring of development rights so we can build smart. This collaboration would leverage regional transit projects and allow the scaling up of housing projects where the infrastructure can support them. This would create more high-quality job opportunities as well as community benefits. I'd like to make a motion to approve staff's recommendations to continue to research the 4 VMT mitigation program options and return in the winter with the additional analysis as well as the other board requested items, including staff to include additional option for a VMT mitigation program within the general plan village areas. Staff to provide additional information on the number of housing units built since the general plan was adopted in 2011, how the high fire zones overlay with the VMT areas, fire insurance for homes located in the high fire zones, and the status of the court case regarding the county's VMT guidelines, and continue to work with project applicants to review projects on a case-by-case basis to determine the applicability of the 15183 exemption process. And on behalf of Chairman Vargas, do any of our other colleagues have comments? I will go to Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to second your motion. One of the issues, though, is that so many people may believe, especially in my district, I don't know about anybody else's, may believe that they don't have the ability to use the checklist, the 15.813 checklist. And in your motion, you address it, but I'd like to be more proactive. I'm wondering if staff, when we could include that staff would look through people that potentially qualify and give them that option to explore. Because I think that for a lot of folks, they looked at what happened with the Hilltop case, and that put a freeze on them moving forward with it until the case was resolved. So now that it's resolved, perhaps we can proactively reach out to those folks and say, look, you once before were interested in moving in this direction. Are you still interested? Because we're here to help. I know that's a crazy thing for government to say, but I'd like for them to say it anyway.
And staff can respond to the plan that we would have for outreach and communication on this item.
Supervisor Anderson, through the chair. Staff can absolutely do that. We can make contact with all of our applicants that we have and all of the stakeholder groups that we have, as well as community members. We've been in touch with a number of developers since VMT was adopted, so we can reach back out to all of them and make sure that they're aware of this possibility.
That'd be awesome. And, I just want to say how much I appreciate your hard work. I appreciate staff's time going back and walking through the Hilltop case with me and helping me better understand it and how it applies. So thank you for all the great work.
Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you for the presentation and then coming back, being very specific about our conversation that we had at the last meeting and really giving us the information that we asked for. I am going to bring up another issue about one of the carve-outs. And I asked a question about it last time because I am really trying to understand is so many of commenters and people on either side of the issue, we all agree that the middle income area, particularly home ownership, it seems to be a priority for most, if not all, folks that are part of this issue. So we do have the carve out of affordable housing, 120% AMI, that does include for sale housing. However, when we look at 120% AMI, that is still, in the eyes of where we are now in San Diego, a lower amount. And studies are coming back and telling us that families have to have at least annual income of over $200K to own a home, right? And 120% AMI is at $143,400. So my concern is that our policy decision is not necessarily meeting that moment. And actually, Supervisor Anderson and I have worked on down payment assistance programs for first-time home buyers, and our cap in the most recent program was 160% AMI. That's what folks could make in order to qualify for that down payment assistance. So I'm asking just in the fall we can come back with some additional analysis around the AMI cap that we have, because what my concern is that either we're going to, the main concern is that we are going to build housing that is just too affordable, period. So we're saying we want to build more housing, but what results is oftentimes housing that is still too affordable for our electricians, for our teachers, for folks that we should be at the center of this conversation. And so that's the only thing that I would like to add to the conversation, is that when we really look at the numbers, 120% AMI if we land there, then we just have to be real about the fact that it is not necessarily going to meet that middle income, those requirements that we have. Thank you so much for all of the work.
Not seeing any other comments. We have a motion by Chairwoman Vargas, seconded by Supervisor Anderson. Please vote. And Chairwoman Vargas, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye. We will now call the remainder of the public speakers for non-agenda public comment. We have 7 total requests to speak, all coming via the phone. So for those that have requested to speak via the phone, if you could please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you, and we'll give you a moment to do so. We will now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. Again, when it's your turn to speak, you will be unmuted. You will hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments after the beep. Again, I'd like to remind the callers they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking, and we'll begin with our first caller.
Good afternoon, Chair Vargas and Board of Supervisors. My name is Diane Grace. Last month, the Board of Supervisors voted to grant unprecedented financial privileges to private, for-profit, predatory businesses, big marijuana, under the guise of a socially equitable cannabis program. Even the 5 already opened marijuana storefronts don't think there is anything equitable about this proposal to give away taxpayers' money to enable more marijuana businesses in the backcountry. The original source of this proposal came from Supervisor Fletcher in 2021, not from any county planning group nor at any public meeting. The Reader magazine and others suggested that Fletcher had cozy financial relationships with marijuana businesses because his staff had worked on behalf of pot businesses. Community members have since spoken out, provided research regarding potential for increased youth access, marijuana normalization, amplified mental health problems, and reduced vehicle safety from drivers under the influence. Public health educators have described the environmental danger from increased greenhouse gases and contamination and overuse of groundwater in an ongoing drought. Youth advocates have deplored the high-potency flavored marijuana products sold in marijuana storefronts that have fueled the epidemic of youth use. Our unincorporated planning groups were ignored at the county's listening sessions in deference to those who had obvious economic conflicts of interest, like marijuana lobbyists and attorneys. County back residents are...
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors, Chair Vargas. My name is Terry Ann Skelly. I am very concerned about expanding the number of pot businesses in our back county. I hope that the Board of Supervisors won't break trust with us to protect our health and welfare first. As a parent of 3 adult sons who have a wide circle of friends, which I entertain often, trust me, the damage that such a notion would create is immeasurable. And the idea that an extension of marijuana's footprint in the county incorporated as a plan to assist communities of color is insulting. Historically, alcohol, tobacco, and now marijuana always seems to end up selling disproportionately in lower-income neighborhoods. The National Public Health Group Truth Initiative has for 20 years documented the health disparities that occur in communities of color because of this practice. Death and disease caused by products that are smoked and vaped are still the leading cause of death and preventable disease in this country. And for minority communities whom lack health care, it's devastating. This is not the time for expansion of marijuana businesses in the county. Thank you for hearing my concerns this afternoon.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Nora, how much is it 3 securities or is it 2? It seemed like 3 yesterday, and you have a new SUV, like Consuelo was saying. We were paying $1 million for Nathan's detail, and he didn't have any threats. He was the one who started the fire at his house and then was trying to blame me and others and act like he's being threatened. Now, I don't see that you're being threatened, Nora. Nobody's doing that to you unless maybe they are, and if they are, it's a reflection of what you're doing to the people. But I highly doubt that you're even getting any threats. You're just, virtue signaling like you're such a poor little, harassed individual. And it's like, how much are we paying for that? That didn't go through the public to say how much we're going to have to spend on that. And it's disturbing that you will, that you guys yesterday, as I was saying earlier in closed session, that you were talking or laughing about Kevin bringing up the 5-year-old being raped. It's very sad to see that we're in this kind of time. But it's also crazy to have talked about the fire department and then have 2 fire trucks go out to the border wall in San Ysidro to have to save 1 guy. 2 trucks. It's a lot of money that we're spending on that. And like I said before, they're the ones starting the fires. But you don't want to protect the community, right? You just want the community to pay for this invasion and have them pay for those trucks that aren't even going to be in their community when they need them. It's very disturbing what you guys do and act like it's so great and you're so wonderful and, oh, I'm so threatened. Were you beat up by a sheriff, Nora? Did you get drug out into the hallway, have your head slammed into the ground, would give you a concussion and damage to your back, ribs, and permanent nerve damage to your arms? I'm just wondering. Because it would seem that maybe I'm the one that needs to have the security detail, not you. Because until that happens, you need to quit spending and wasting the people's money on stuff that isn't necessary.
Thank you. We'll go to our next caller.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors, Chair Nora Vargas. Thank you for this opportunity. This is Ann Riddle speaking. I, too, wanted to talk about where the socially equitable marijuana program came from when we first heard about it in 2021. And again, as someone mentioned, it was brought to us by Fletcher. At that point, it was brought to us because the 5 marijuana businesses already in play were were about to have their CUP expire, and they wanted to create some sort of language that would give them, and I wrote down the quotes at the time, do something about that uncertainty and instability. Then all of a sudden it became a solution for the inequities that low-income families and those for whom suffered from the decriminalization of marijuana. And we wondered about that, but we were promised at our county planning group that we would hear from staff. And that almost was true. Our county planning group that met 2 weeks ago that I attend, we never did hear from county staff. The one that my husband attends because of where his business is, they did. But we felt like although the staff was very respectful and listened, we didn't see any of the recommendations we made show up in print. And now here we are at 2024, and it's going forward. And I think we have some questions, those of us in the county unincorporated, about if we in the county unincorporated are being listened to. At the time that Fletcher brought it forward, he had no unincorporated land in his district. And as best as we could tell, Desmond and Anderson had no part to do with the proposal, and yet they're the ones that did have unincorporated land. So we wonder, with this checkered beginning in 2021.
Thank you. Your time is up. We'll go to our next speaker.
Peggy Walker. In line with budgetary discussions concerning rising mental and behavioral health cases, I'm here as a youth advocate to ask you once again to delay marijuana expansion programs. Former Surgeon General Jerome Adams said, "A society where individuals constantly self-medicate with a mind-altering substance is a health recipe for disaster." There's no better example than Bryn Strucker, recently convicted of killing her boyfriend by stabbing him 108 times during a cannabis-induced psychosis, a consequential mental health issue. Law enforcement found Strucker covered in blood, hysterical next to her boyfriend's body, gripping a knife. She stabbed herself when police tried to disarm her. Experts declared a marijuana bong hit threw her into the deadly episode. This is not an isolated incident. Many books detail many cases of similar marijuana-induced violence going back long before today's ultra-high THC potency. A Ventura judge ruled Becker had no control over her actions when she entered into the psychotic episode. But the dead man's father claimed this ruling sets a dangerous precedent, stating, "He just gave everyone in California who smokes marijuana a license to kill." I speak for youth. Marijuana is a high, understudied, misunderstood drug. Its use has complex mental health consequences that few are aware of. It's time to have a serious conversation about its risks before rushing into expanded accessibility. Bryn Strucker's case is just one that proves the point. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes the request for non-agenda public communication this afternoon. We will now go to adjournments in memory, and I will bring up Chairwoman Vargas's talking points. All right. So on behalf of Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes the business before the board today. We'll now proceed with our adjournments in memory. Today's adjournment will be presented by Chairwoman Nora Vargas in memory of Phil Collum. Today we adjourn in memory of Phil Collum of the Chula Vista Police Department. Phil was not only the Assistant Chief of Police with an impressive 29-year service to the department and the community, but also a loved community member, husband, and friend. Phil dedicated his life to public service and remained as a trailblazer of progress as the department's first African-American police lieutenant in 2009, police captain in 2018, and assistant chief of police in 2022. As we begin Pride Month, it is important to recognize Phil's tireless efforts to restore police community relations with the LGBTQ+ community. His work to reintegrate San Diego law enforcement into San Diego Pride parades was impressive for maintaining trust and transparency in the community he served. This adjournment in memory honors his legacy and recognizes his contributions, highlighting the lasting impact he had in uniting the community for a safer San Diego. We'll now move to the next notes from Chairwoman Vargas. Chairwoman Vargas would like to recognize Athena Lazos. Today, I'm proud to honor our Chair's Assistant, Athena Lazos, for her extraordinary contributions to the Board of Supervisors. Athena has been instrumental in ensuring our board is always well prepared and our meetings run seamlessly. She began her journey with the county as a student fellow with the clerk of the board and rose to become the Chair's Assistant in 2023. Having her support throughout my chairwomanship has been an immense privilege. Our board meetings simply could not run as smoothly without her dedication and expertise. During her tenure with the county, Athena graduated from San Diego State University with a bachelor's degree in public administration. It has been incredible to witness her achieve this milestone and begin her graduate studies at USC while simultaneously keeping us organized. Athena is one of the most genuine and kind-hearted individuals I've had the pleasure to work with. She has been an invaluable asset to this board and will be truly missed. All right, thank you. On behalf of Chairwoman Vargas, this meeting is adjourned. The next regular meeting of the board will take place on Tuesday, June 25th at 9 a.m.